Get ready for another video in Alex's garage. Alright, so quick little follow-up video today on the Dash. This component right here, if you can see the little tiny leather washer, and here's the part number right here. See, this is a washer, oil pressure gauge washer. Anyway, there's the part number 435516. And so anyway, one of our viewers, American Patriot, I think, had mentioned that we need to make sure that we replace this leather washer when we put the oil pressure gauge in there. So I just want to show real quick how to do that. We're going to demonstrate that real quick. So the oil pressure gauge on these 77s is not electric. It is actually measuring the pressure of the oil. So there's an oil line that comes all the way into the dash here. And you can see it just has a little brass fitting here that connects to the gauge. I don't know if you can see that very well, right in here. And that little gasket goes in right on top there. So let's go ahead and put that gasket. Alright, so you can see on this gasket, see if I can zoom in on this a little bit. The fitting connects right against this little edge here, and there's a flat surface. Oops. Alright, so there's a flat surface right there, and the gasket needs to form on that flat surface and seal against this flat surface right here. Can you see that flat surface right there? So the gasket should be able to fit over the top of this center shaft right here, and it would make it easier for you to slide that on. Now this is a two-hand job, so I'm not going to be able to get the whole thing, but just so you can see there, I'm trying to marry up this flat surface here with that flat surface there, with a gasket between the two. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get that done, and then we'll tighten it up. It's a 1/2 inch screw. Alright, so the next thing I want to cover here is where the holes are to install the dash or to take the dash out. There was a gentleman, I believe he was from Japan, and he had some questions about how to remove the dash. So what I'm going to do is I just want to give you some reference points so you can get an idea of where the holes are, because once you're up underneath the dash and you're trying to figure out where those holes are, it's kind of hard to get to them and kind of hard to figure out where they are, so you know where to look. So here you go. The first hole here is approximately 6 inches from the edge of the upright here on the window. There's the 6 inches here. All right, so from the first one to the next one over, it's approximately 9 inches. Now the other thing to look at on here is in reference to where these defroster ports are. The second hole is approximately halfway from the length of that defroster port. So if you're looking for, a reference without taking measurements, you can see from the defroster, about the middle of the defroster is where the second hole is. The third hole is at the end of the defroster, right over here. And then from there, going the other way, you can see that's kind of a long distance from here to that defroster, but from this hole to that hole is 8 inches. All right, let's go to the other side. Okay, so on this side, you can see from this hole, again, to the edge of the vertical riser on the windshield is 6 inches. And then, for a matter of reference, about the middle of the defroster is where this next hole is. And again, just like the one on the opposite side, from that hole to the first one on this side is approximately 9 inches. It's actually a little less, but just for reference. Make it easier for you to find where those holes are. So when you're up underneath the dash looking for where the nuts are, you'll be able to find those. I'm going to go ahead and put this in place, and then we'll make some marks from the outside so you can see what they look like. Alright, so looking from this side, 6 inches over here to the center of there, 9 inches over. Again, 6 inches from the edge to the center of the defroster, 9 inches over. And then you move the other two together where they meet. So that's basically, you can see if you're looking to pull your dash off, those are the location of those bolts. All right, so to gain access to these first two screws here, you can see the first one's relatively easy. You can access it you can even just touch it right from here. You can just reach in right on the side and you can find it. And you can see from this perspective, it's right here. The one from this side right here, you have to take the glove compartment out in order to gain access to, but it's right here. You can see it. I don't know if you can. Well. I don't know if I'm looking at it, but it's right there. It's right here where my finger is, right up in there. So we can reach it, but only after you pull the glove box out. The one that is behind these right here, you have to kind of work your way around behind the but you can see that one is accessible. That little red, I have it painted red right there. That red bolt is the one in the center that is between the two heating vents. And that one you kind of have to work back and forth with a wrench. You won't be able to get a ratchet in there, so that'll take a little bit of time to get that one. The other two, or the other three, are very similar. Now, this one right here is going to be accessible from just reaching around the corner right there. This one right here, it actually is a lot easier if you drop this steering shaft. And if you see on the steering shaft here, there's these bolts. They're really easy to get to. There's one on either side, and the whole steering shaft will fall down, and that'll give you access to the back side of the dash from there. And that should give you access to both of those two bolts. All right, so this next little section here, I'm going to address a question that a gentleman had about the wood veneer kit that we put in dash. He wanted to know if the bezels from the gauges went on the outside, or if the wood veneer was outside of the bezel. So in this case, I'm going to zoom in real quick here so you can see the wood veneer sits on the outside of the bezel. So you can, although in my previous video where I showed how I installed these, I had the gauges out with the wood veneer on. You don't have to pull the gauges out to install these wood veneers. They install on the outside of the gauges, and they don't interact with the gauges at all. Although it's nicely trimmed, and props for the company who made these. I'll put them in the description. It's a really nice job. They match up really nicely with all the holes and everything. Looks great. And so it's not nearly as hard a job as you might think to install these wood veneers. It's all about cleanliness and getting the glue to stick nice without any kind of contaminants or anything. So that's really the trick with those. And in my case, because we added leather or vinyl on here, we had to trim just the edges, the outside edges, to make it fit. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. The wood veneer kit goes on the outside of the gauges, and it's not necessary to remove the gauges to install that kit. So there you go. If you're having questions about how to remove your dash, and in this case you don't have to remove the dash to put the wood veneer on, and I went over how to put the gasket on the oil pressure gauge. So there's a quick little follow-up video on the dash on a 1977 MGB to answer those questions for those folks that had some questions about my previous videos. If you have any other questions on anything, please let me know. I'm just as curious as you are to learn more new things about the MGB. If you have some pointers, some tips, some things that you've covered over the years and you want to share with folks, do please comment on my videos and share that useful information. Thanks again. Quick shout out to the American Patriot and those other gentlemen who had questions and make comments on my videos. It's always very helpful. So there you go. If you have any other questions, just make sure you make some comments and subscribe, and look forward to my next videos. Have a good day.